Chapter 83, Letter of Surrender. 10 days later, the Great Golden Kingdom. Above the court hall, the atmosphere of the courtroom was very depressing. The courtiers did not utter a single word. Together they looked at the emperor on the dragon chair. In the center of the two columns of courtiers, a yellow-robed official, with an ugly face, was in the middle of reporting. Your Majesty, the great Chen country has been completely loyal to the ancient government, raising the country to worship the government. Now Gao Xianzi is leading the Chen country's army. No, should be called the ancient government's army. Into my gold country's boundaries. He this time came raging. At the same time, the soldiers pointed to the four countries. There's been a short exchange of troops on the front line. The report of the defeat has come, the yellow-robed official said with an ugly face. Great Chen Kingdom. Chen Liangyi just submitted to the Guhai. He didn't resist a bit. The Golden King's face was ugly as he said, "No, I don't know how Guhai promised him." Chen Liangyi fully cooperated. Guhai seems to have been preparing for a long time in general. The officials alternated extremely frequently. Many Chen Kingdom officials. It's even more Guhai has long been arranged in general, the yellow-robed official said with a complicated face. There is no resistance. There are a few city lords are not willing to submit to the ancient government, unveiled, but quickly suppressed. Immortals involved, bloody cleaning, Chen domestic. There are still a lot of disobedient voices, but it is in the rapid digestion. The general direction has been reversed. Chen country no longer exists. And from now on, all the way back to the ancient government, the yellow-robed official respectfully said. The people did not rebound. Few, very, very few. The ancient mansion is the richest of the 6 countries, but it has accumulated a large amount of good reputation over these decades and has a very good reputation amongst the people. And a year ago, the Chen Kingdom had just gone through a major upheaval, and the people's hearts and minds were shaken, and their recognition of the ancient mansion was even greater than that of the Chen Kingdom's royal family. And so, the people were very smooth with the handover. The yellow-robed official said bitterly, Guhai, what a great ambition. With the power of a single house, you want to unify the 5 kingdoms. The Golden King's face was gloomy. Your Majesty, although the ancient mansion is only one mansion, its influence is no less than one country. Take our country for example. In the business world, the ancient family industry has always ruled the business world. It is a business kingdom. Hidden in the 6th of the 5 countries, it has just always been known as a house. The yellow-robed official laughed bitterly. Most importantly, Guhai has now stepped into the cultivation realm and has 3,000 immortals under his command, our mortal army. I'm afraid, the yellow-robed official said with an ugly face. Guhai's perverse behavior. He can't bounce around for long. Humph. He has 3,000 immortals. There is the immortal sect Dinglong sect behind my Great Gold Kingdom, and there are the Songjia sect and King sect behind the other several countries as well. Guhai is provoking a whole bunch of immortal sects, and soon he will be doomed, the Golden King said in a cold voice. Report. The 3rd prince seeks an audience. An anxious voice came from outside the main hall. Oh, the 3rd prince. The 3rd prince who worshipped the Dinglong sect to cultivate immortality has returned. The group of ministers burst into joy. Declare. The Golden King let out a loud shout. Soon, a group of guards carried a stretcher, and on the stretcher lay a rather wretched red-clothed man, with blood on top of his legs, scars all over his body, and his hair hanging loose. 3rd prince. The crowd looked at this red-clothed prince in surprise. How was he carried back? Imperial son, what happened to you? The Golden King stood up from the dragon chair with a change of face. Although the 3rd prince was not the crown prince, but in the eyes of the Golden King, it was more important than the crown prince, because his future development was even higher than his own. He was able to cultivate into an immortal, even though he was the emperor. His lifespan was limited, and after a few decades he would just be a billet of yellow earth. Where would he compare to an immortal? Father, child just came back and heard the frontline war report. Did not dare to stay. Immediately came. The third prince smiled bitterly. What happened? Who injured you like this? Aren't you in the Dinglong sect? The Golden King was surprised. Dinglong sect? Heh, it's gone. The third prince said bitterly. No more. What do you mean? Your Dinglong sect has thousands of disciples. How come there are no more? The Golden King was surprised. Gu Hai went to the Dinglong sect. The Dinglong sect, including the patriarch, almost died out. Only a few dozen at most survived. The child was lucky to survive and escaped back. The third prince said bitterly. What? The group of ministers immediately exclaimed. Gu Hai, how is that possible? Didn't he just cultivate immortality? How could he be an enemy of your Dinglong sect? The Golden King was surprised. What's being an enemy of my Dinglong sect? Father doesn't know yet, does he? That Gu Hai has returned this time and first destroyed the Dafeng gang, then the King sect, then the Songjia sect, and not long ago, he destroyed my Dinglong sect. The third prince said bitterly. The group of ministers, Golden King, destroying the four major immortal sects, one after another. There was dead silence in the Great Hall. Impossible. Is Gu Hai that powerful? Wasn't he just at the innate realm, just now? The Golden King said, with a face of disbelief. I heard that the Songa sect's disciples died the most tragic deaths, and Gu Hai, alone, slaughtered the Songa sect's more than 5,000 disciples clean. The third prince said bitterly. Golden King, the group of ministers. The Great Hall once again fell into a dead silence. Report. A messenger rushed into the Great Hall. Your Majesty, news has come from Byeongjin City. Byeongjin City has lost its defense and has been broken by Gao Xianzi's army. The messenger knelt down to report. The courtiers, King of Jin, Dafeng Gang, King Clan, Songjia Clan, Dinglong sect, the four immortal sects. Gu Hai slaughtered them one by one. No wonder he wants to rule the world. No wonder he dares to rule the world. The backers of the Great Golden Kingdom have been destroyed too. Gu Hai, Gu Hai. The Golden King's face was grim as he clenched his fists for a moment, but it seemed as if he had a feeling of being powerless to resist. Dum dash dum dash dum dash dum dash dum dash dum. A drumming sound came from outside the Great Hall. What's going on? The Golden King looked outside the hall. Soon a guard rushed into the Great Hall. Your Majesty, the ancient mansion chamber of commerce's Grand Treasurer, Tang Chu, begged to see His Majesty, and was stopped, so he knocked on the shaking heavenly drums and begged to see His Majesty. Shocking the heavenly drum, folk who have great grievances will only go to knock up to heaven to hear the heavenly drum, no matter how the grievances. Knocking the heavenly drum are to Kane 80, in order to correct the dragon's authority, and then discretionary acceptance of the people's grievances. The ancient mansion big shopkeeper actually go to knock the heavenly drum. The third prince was surprised. At this time, no one would bother mentioning not to Kane 80. Pass it on, the Golden King said in a deep voice. No, Minister of Rights, you go and welcome the pass. The Golden King immediately spoke. Yes, an official immediately exited the Great Hall. In the Great Hall, the atmosphere was oppressive for a while. The third prince was carried to the side, and at this moment, he also had a complicated look on his face. It didn't take long for the Minister of Rights to draw a white-haired old man. The old man was white-haired, but his spirits were very good. His pair of eyes were extremely sharp, and behind him followed two black-robed men, as if they were protecting at all times. Boss Tang, please, the Minister of Rights said very politely. Tang shopkeeper smiled slightly. Eyes flashed a raised eyebrow feeling. In the past in the big gold country, and resided over the ancient government business. See how many people's cold eyes. In this group of ministers, in the past, they all looked down on their own. in addition to liking their own money, are generally eyeballs high above the top. Now, the country will be easy. Suddenly the identity to change places. Tang shopkeeper at the moment. How can the mood is not smooth? Entering the main hall, shopkeeper Tang did not pay his respects to the Golden King first, but looked at the two black-robed guards behind him. Many thanks to the two of you for protecting me all the way, Boss Tang said with a slight salute. Boss Tang, we've also come by order of the minister. You don't need to mind us, just do your thing, one of the black-robed men said in a deep voice. Shopkeeper Tang nodded, and it was only at this moment that the group of ministers noticed Boss Tang's two guards. These two were two of the 3,000 immortals under Gu Hai. Using immortals to protect mortals, the group of ministers first had a moment of incomprehension, and then their hearts were appalled, because from this scene, they could see Gu Hai's determination. Grand Master of the ancient mansion in the Golden Kingdom, Tang Chu, meet the great Golden Emperor, Tang Chu said with a slight salute. Boss Tang used greetings instead of pay respects, clearly already placing his identity as an emissary of a country rather than a humble little citizen of the Golden Kingdom. Boss Tang, you're here on behalf of Gu Hai, the Golden King said in a deep voice. Yes, it is none other than my lord, shopkeeper Tang smiled. Your ancient mansion violated my borders, yet you still have the guts to break into my court, the Golden King said in a cold voice. In response to the Golden King's imperial might and cold drink, Tang Chu did not fear, but instead smiled faintly. Tang Chu is responsible for the gold country business of the big treasurer. Hands are also used. Countless people own their own majesty. Moreover, once the collection of the gold country, he is likely to be the big master of this place. One's position will soon be able to replace the emperor in front of one's eyes. What else is there for one to be afraid of? King Jin, this time I came. I didn't want to argue with you or anything. There's nothing to argue about. The third prince is here. I'm sure that what should be said. The third prince has also said. Boss Tang laughed. The Golden King looked at Boss Tang with cold eyes. King Jin, ministers, you don't need to look at me with this look. My ancient mansion doesn't owe you anything. Instead, you owe my ancient mansion countless amounts. Here, from the Golden King onwards, down to all the ministers, you've never taken money from my ancient mansion. Boss Tang sneered. The group of ministers gazed at Boss Tang with staring brows. Don't think that your Golden Kingdom's regime is so solid. These past few decades, the Golden Kingdom has had 5 floods and 6 great droughts, each accompanied by a great plague. The treasury is empty. Who relieved the victims and didn't cause unrest? It's me, the ancient house. Without my ancient mansion, your Golden Kingdom would have been in chaos long ago. All because of the Dinglong sect immortals. Have they ever minded you? Boss Tang laughed. This year, the Golden Kingdom is in a great drought. 10,000 miles of good land, no harvest. If I, the ancient mansion, no longer provide relief, how much grain can your treasury take out of storage? The people don't have food to eat. It's also the general trend to rise up and overthrow your regime, Boss Tang said in a deep voice. Shopkeeper Tang, what are you trying to say? The Golden King said in a cold voice. This time, on behalf of my family's master, I'm sending a beckoning letter to the great Golden Kingdom's royal family, hoping that you all can think for yourselves and cherish this opportunity, so as to avoid the destruction of life and death. Boss Tang handed out a silk scroll. A beckoning letter. The Golden King's eyes glared. The ministers were in an uproar, and they were suddenly furious. They couldn't wait to eat Tang Chu alive. The beckoning book is given to you, whether you surrender or not. It's all up to you. It's just a matter of time, whether the people suffer or not. And what difference does it make what happens to you? By the way, the neighboring country Kaigua has already accepted the invitation to surrender. Tang Chu handed out the beckoning letter and took a step back. Great Golden Emperor, lords, I'll leave first. You all discuss it amongst yourselves. And when you've thought of it, inform me again. I'll be staying at the ancient mansion, tavern outside the palace, Tang Chu said with a faint smile. After saying that, Tang Chu turned his head and walked towards the outside of the grand hall, the two black-robed guards following closely behind. The great golden emperor's chest heaved as he forced down his anger. The group of ministers were cursing angrily, but, amongst the angry group of ministers, some of them were pondering, a hint of a different color flashing in their eyes.